If there's anyone out there who's trying to save money, I'm not saying to not save, I'm just saying save, but just not too much. You're thinking I'm not really spending because I'm spending so little. But when you add up all those expenses, you realize that, wait a minute, there's a problem there. Hello amours, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Cindy and I talk about everything that has to do with self-care, productivity and lifestyle. So if that's something you would like to hear or see more of, please consider subscribing and keep on watching. Today I'm going to talk about 3 money mistakes I've made so far in my 20s. The title I'm sure is going to be something along the lines of 3 money mistakes I've made in my 20s. And it's so weird because I'm still in my 20s, but like I mean so far in my 20s. Just that I don't think it's searchable so far in my 20s. Maybe I'll try that. But anyways, let's get right in the video. I got my first job when I was 18. In between second and third year during the summer, it was a normal minimum wage job working at a warehouse. I got a night shift. It was the only one I found. To be honest, I was doing it with my sister. Because up until that time, I had not fathomed the idea of working while at uni or just like working in general. So while I was doing that, working and everything, I started reading blogs, Quora blogs more specifically, on bettering myself. And if there's something that always kept on coming back alongside being more productive, it was definitely leveling up financially. So I was already making money with my job as minimum wage as it was, and I was already like very intrigued with the idea of making more. Back then my idea of making more money was overtime, so I was taking so many overtimes. But then when I started seeing those blogs about leveling up financially, I started like realizing that I was doing it all wrong. So of course, after research, like I would read books, I would watch videos, and I would just like want to know like what I was doing wrong and how I could just make it better. I'm not going to like make a video about all the things I did wrong. The first one being, I was literally renting a house that was costing more than half what I was earning a month, you know. So like that was already like a big mistake. But I'm not going to be talking about those ones. I'm going to be talking about 3 money mistakes that I feel like are the worst out of every mistakes I could have ever made. I'm still learning, you know. I can never say that I've learned enough for everything. So the first money mistake I've made, actually, I think it's the opposite of like most people, and it is that I tried saving everything. Yes, it's something I still struggle with even right now, because generally I'm not much of a spender. I've never been. I've always enjoyed the idea of knowing I have money in my bank account than like having material possessions. So I've always been like a saver more than a spender, but I feel like without me realizing, that was a thin line and I passed that line. You might be thinking it's good, no, to be able to save money, but too much of everything becomes bad. Everyone needs a balance, and in my case, when you have this mentality of wanting to save every penny, first of all, it just perpetuates the scarcity mindset. You're gonna think there's not much. Why are you trying to save so much? Because you're scared of tomorrow. Yes, it might not necessarily have come from that point of view, because the reason why I was saving so much is because I genuinely don't enjoy spending. I'd rather just see the money, but at the same time, just wanting to always want to save and things like that without realizing, you just develop that scarcity mindset, which is like one of the worst mindsets you can have when you're trying to build wealth. The second thing I would say, I didn't enjoy as much as I should have, you know, because let's not forget, our 20s are supposed to be the best years of our lives. And if I'm spending so much time saving everything and not like wanting to try new things, go try new experiences, and am I really enjoying life? You know, am I really living life? You know, that's like the second thing that makes the whole wanting to save too much bad. And also the last one, which goes very much in par with the second point, is basically the fact that I became the not so fun one in the group. Every time we want to do things, it will always be like, oh, Cindy would not want to do it. Remember, Cindy doesn't like spending money. I remember like when we would take trips, I would always be the first one to oppose to it. Like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'd rather just stay home. But then at the end of the trip, I'll always end up being the one that enjoyed it the most. It's like, Make it make sense. So definitely, if there's anyone out there who's trying to save money, I'm not saying to not save. I'm just saying save, but just not too much. Don't like sacrifice enjoying life, because you're trying to save. Of course, situations are different. If I was in a situation where I needed to save for a particular thing, I wouldn't say like I need to go enjoy life or whatever, but I just feel like when you're saving to save, then there's a problem, you need to be saving for a purpose rather than like saving for the sake of saving. The second mistake I've made so far in my 20s in relation to money is that I've been spending money on the wrong things. I know you're thinking, where didn't you just say she saves a lot of money? How come she's spending it on the wrong things? I don't know if there's anyone who would like relate to what I'm about to say. I'm the kind of person when I go to work, I would see something I genuinely do not need, but because I think it's cute, I'll be like, oh, it's not expensive, it's just £5. That's the mistake. I save a lot, yes, I do contend that, but at the same time, I'm spending my money on the completely wrong things. Like I was not, please. This is not, I'm not doing it anymore. I was spending the money on the wrong things. I wasn't spending with purpose. And the thing is, when you look, especially like with that mindset of like, oh, it's not that expensive. A lot of people do not realize it's the little that becomes much. Sometimes when you hear people talking about how it's because you're spending so much money on coffee that you're not rich. That is not what I'm saying, but I'm saying I do understand the logic behind that. Because you're spending so much on the little, you're thinking, I'm not really spending because I'm spending so little. But when you add up all those expenses, you realize that, wait a minute, there's a problem there. It's the £5 that becomes £100 at the end of the day, and the 100 that becomes 1,000, and then you're wondering, how did that happen? Yeah, it's those little things you've been buying. It's those little things I've been buying. My third point, my third money mistake I've made so far in my 20s actually kind of gets to the point I made in the very, very beginning when I was explaining how I got into learning about money. And it's basically that I didn't learn about money soon enough, not really taking investment seriously, not diversifying my streams of income. Like in regards to all those 3 points, I'm gonna give reasons and try to explain why I think I did those things. The reason why I didn't learn about money early or soon enough was basically because I was set in my own ways. There's a thing when you're so used to the way you live and you don't want to change it, you're not gonna do anything about changing it because for you it's okay. And I think that's what was happening in my case. I was okay with the way I was living my life, so learning about money and things like that were not really priorities for me. But after actually like realizing what I was missing on, I actually did start like working on those, and I'm happy to say now that like I'm really happy with like how I'm not making those mistakes anymore. Basically, the second point had to do with really not taking investment seriously. I learned about investment, I think, in 2018. Like most people, it's something I knew about, but I wasn't just taking seriously because I felt like I didn't have enough money to be investing. But then quarantine hit and I started investing. I still don't think I'm investing as much as I should be because compared to how much I'm making and how much I'm investing, there's a problem. It's not adding up, so I need to be working on it as well. In regards to diversifying my income, it's only recently that I started taking it seriously. I've known since quarantine, I think since 2020, that's something I needed to do. I've been working on it. It's not like I haven't. Right now, I think I'm like juggling 2, 3 streams of income, but like they're not really making the amount of money I would like them to make. So it's something I'm still working on. I aim to create 2 more streams by the end of the year. But genuinely, those are like the 3 biggest money mistakes I think I've done so far, which were basically like as a recap, trying to save nearly everything, spending on the wrong things, and finally not learning enough about money early enough, and even when learning, not actually doing what those teachings were telling me to do. If you're on a journey to actually make more money, to build wealth, I'm here to tell you it's possible. It's something you can still do. It starts with recognizing what you're doing wrong and then deciding to work on it. So yes, those were all my 3 money mistakes I've made so far in my 20s. I'm still learning, it's a work in progress. but we can do it. We will do it. Thank you all for watching. Up until next time. If you've made it here in the video, thank you. If you haven't, I still love you. Thank you. Bye, Miss Amours.